I'm standing in my kitchen staring at the pregnancy test in my trembling hands, and for the first time in 3 years I see two pink lines. After countless failed IVF cycles, hormone injections that left me feeling like a stranger in my own body, and enough medical bills to buy a small house, my miracle baby is finally growing inside me. I can barely contain my joy as I call my sister Elena. She's always been my closest confidant, the one who held me when I cried after each negative test, who drove me to appointments when my husband couldn't get time off work. Elena, it worked. I whisper into the phone, my voice breaking with emotion. I'm pregnant. The silence on the other end stretches longer than it should. When she finally speaks, her voice is flat, almost cold. Oh. Well, congratulations, I guess. That should have been my first warning. When I married David, I thought I was gaining not just a husband but a big, loving family. Elena and I had grown up close, spending summers at our grandfather's farm, running through cornfields and collecting eggs from the chicken coop. She was my maid of honor, I was hers. We planned to raise our children together, to carry on the family traditions that our grandfather had instilled in us. But infertility has a way of showing you who people really are. For 3 years, I watched Elena effortlessly conceive and birth two beautiful children while I endured procedure after procedure. She'd post photos of her kids on social media with captions like, "Blessed with another natural miracle." The word, natural, always seemed to carry extra weight when she said it around me. When my daughter Lily was born, healthy and perfect after a long labor, I expected Elena to be as overjoyed as I was. Instead, she held her stiffly, almost reluctantly. "She's small," Elena said, handing Lily back to me quickly. "Are you sure she's developing normally? I mean, with the way she was made and all." The way she was made. Those words echoed in my head for days. At Lily's first birthday party, Elena made a comment that should have prepared me for what was coming. She was watching her own children play with Lily when she turned to our cousin Sarah. "It's just different, you know? When they come naturally versus artificially. There's something to be said for the old-fashioned way." Sarah looked uncomfortable and quickly changed the subject, but I heard every word. The real breaking point came during Thanksgiving dinner at my parents' house. Lily, now 18 months old, was toddling around in her little turkey dress, babbling happily and charming everyone with her bright smile and curious nature. She had inherited my husband's dark curls and my green eyes, and she was the light of our world. As we gathered for the traditional family photo, something I'd looked forward to all year, Elena stepped forward with her phone. "Okay, everyone bunch up. This is going in the family album." I moved toward the group with Lily in my arms, but Elena held up her hand. "Actually, Sarah, why don't you come stand here instead?" Elena gestured to the spot where I'd been heading. "This is more of a traditional family photo." My heart stopped. "What do you mean?" Elena's smile was saccharine, but her eyes were ice cold. "Don't take it personally, Grace. It's just tradition. We've always done the family photo with the natural-born heirs. You understand." The room went silent. My mother started to protest, but Elena cut her off. "Mom, you know Grandpa always said the farm should go to family who came into this world the way God intended. That's just how our family has always been." My father's face turned red with anger, but before he could speak, Elena continued her devastating monologue. "I mean, we all love Lily, obviously. But she's not really family in the traditional sense. She was made in a laboratory, not created by love. There's a difference." I felt like I'd been slapped. My beautiful daughter, who was babbling and reaching for her grandfather's glasses, who giggled when he made funny faces, who was the most loved child in the world, reduced to nothing more than a lab creation in Elena's cruel assessment. "Elena, that's enough," my mother said sharply, but the damage was done. I left that dinner early, tears streaming down my face as I buckled Lily into her car seat. She looked up at me with those perfect green eyes, completely unaware that her own aunt had just declared her less than worthy of family love. That night I called Grandpa Joe. He'd been declining in health, and I'd been the one visiting him regularly at his assisted living facility, bringing Lily to brighten his days. He adored her, always lighting up when we walked into his room. "Grandpa, what Elena said today." I started, my voice thick with emotion. "Gracie," his weathered voice was firm despite his age, "that girl has forgotten what family really means. You and that precious baby are as much family as anyone with our blood. More so than some, I'd say, considering who shows up to visit an old man. Over the next year, Elena's behavior only got worse. At family gatherings, she'd make subtle comments about authentic family connections. She'd post photos on social media of her children at family events, conspicuously leaving out any pictures that included Lily. When Lily took her first steps at a family barbecue, Elena barely looked up from her phone. The final straw came during Easter dinner. Lily, now 2.5, was playing with her cousins when she fell and scraped her knee. Elena's 6-year-old son Jake started to help her up, but Elena quickly intervened. "Jake, come here. You don't need to worry about her. She's not really your cousin anyway." Lily looked confused, her little face crumpling as Jake stepped away from her. I scooped her up, my heart breaking as she buried her face in my shoulder. "Elena, she's a child," I said, my voice shaking with restrained fury. "She's your child," Elena replied coldly. "Not family." That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I started visiting Grandpa Joe more frequently, bringing Lily with me. He was 87 and had been battling heart problems, but his mind was still sharp. We'd spend hours talking about the farm, about family, about what really mattered in life. "Grandpa," I said during one visit, "do you ever regret giving up so much for family?" He looked at me thoughtfully, his gnarled hands stroking Lily's hair as she dozed in his lap. "Family isn't about how you get here, Gracie. It's about who shows up, who cares, who loves without conditions." He paused, looking out the window toward the distant farmland he'd worked for 60 years. "Your sister seems to have forgotten that." When Grandpa Joe passed away peacefully in his sleep that October, I was devastated. He'd been more than a grandfather to me, he'd been a mentor, a friend, and one of the few people who saw Lily for exactly what she was. A miracle. The funeral was packed with family, friends, and community members whose lives Grandpa had touched. Elena gave a beautiful eulogy about family traditions and legacy, about how Grandpa's farm had been in our family for 3 generations and would continue to be for generations to come. She'd even had business cards made up. Elena's Acres, preserving family tradition. She handed them out at the reception, talking excitedly about her plans for the property. "I'm thinking organic farming," she told anyone who would listen. "Get back to the natural way of doing things, you know? The way Grandpa would have wanted." 2 weeks later, we gathered in the office of Grandpa's longtime attorney, Mr. Henderson. The whole family was there. My parents, Elena and her husband, my Uncle Robert and Aunt Martha, and several cousins. Elena had brought a folder of plans for the farm, including architectural drawings for renovations and a business plan she'd been working on for months. She'd even brought monogrammed stationery with "Elena's Acres" printed at the top. Mr. Henderson cleared his throat and opened the thick folder containing Grandpa's will. Joseph Morrison left very specific instructions about his estate, particularly regarding the farm property. Elena sat up straighter, her hand moving to smooth her hair. She dressed for the occasion in a conservative navy suit, looking every inch the responsible heir ready to carry on the family legacy. The farm, including all 347 acres, the main house, outbuildings, and equipment, goes to... Mr. Henderson paused, looking around the room before his eyes settled on me. "Grace Morrison Williams." The silence in the room was deafening. Elena's face went through a spectrum of emotions: confusion, disbelief, then pure rage. "There has to be a mistake," Elena said, her voice rising. "The farm has always gone to the oldest child in each generation. That's me." Mr. Henderson shook his head. "There's no mistake." Mr. Morrison was very specific. "Additionally, there's a sealed letter to be read aloud." With trembling hands, I accepted the envelope marked with my name in Grandpa's familiar handwriting. Inside, his words were clear and purposeful. "My dearest Gracie, if you're hearing this, then I'm gone and you're probably as surprised as everyone else in that room. I want you to know this decision wasn't made lightly or in haste. I've been thinking about it for the past 2 years, watching how our family has treated you and that precious granddaughter of my heart. I've lived 87 years on this earth, and I've learned that family isn't defined by blood or DNA or how a child comes into this world. Family is defined by love, loyalty, and showing up when it matters. For the past 3 years, while I've been declining in health, you've been the one to visit me every week. You've been the one to bring little Lily to brighten my days, to make sure I wasn't forgotten in that sterile facility. You've been the one to listen to my stories, to care about preserving the real family memories, not just the profitable ones. Your sister, bless her heart, has forgotten what this farm represents. It's not about tradition for tradition's sake. It's about nurturing life, about providing for family, about understanding that growth comes in many forms, whether it's corn in a field or a baby in a loving home. Anyone who disrespects how a life comes into this world doesn't deserve to inherit the land it grows from. You and Lily are the future of this family, not because of genetics but because of love. Take care of the land, Gracie. Teach your daughter about the soil and the seasons, about hard work and family. Real family. The farm is yours, with all my love and confidence that you'll honor what it really means. Your devoted grandfather, Joe Morrison. P.S. There's a trust set up for Lily's education. A girl smart enough to be made in a laboratory deserves the best schooling money can buy. By the time I finished reading, tears were streaming down my face. The room was still silent except for Elena's sharp, angry breathing. This is ridiculous, Elena finally exploded. He was clearly not in his right mind. We'll contest this. That farm has been in our family for generations, and it's not going to some test tube baby and her. Enough. The voice was my father's, firm and final. Elena, that's enough. But Elena wasn't done. She stood up, her face red with rage, pointing an accusatory finger at me. You manipulated him. You and that artificial child of yours. You manipulated a sick old man into giving you what should rightfully be mine. She's not even real family. That's when something inside me snapped. I stood up, still holding Grandpa's letter, and looked my sister directly in the eyes. You want to know what's not real, Elena? Your version of family. For 3 years, you've treated my daughter like she's less worthy of love because of how she was conceived. You've excluded her from photos, dismissed her at family gatherings, and told your children she's not their real cousin. What's artificial is your conditional love. I took a deep breath, feeling stronger than I had in years. Grandpa saw who you really are. He saw that when push came to shove, when he needed family most, you were too busy planning your inheritance to actually spend time with him. I didn't visit him to get his money. I visited him because I loved him. And he loved Lily not despite how she was conceived, but because of who she is. Elena's husband tried to calm her down, but she was past reasoning. We'll see about this, she hissed. We'll contest the will. No judge in their right mind would give a family farm to someone whose child isn't even. Isn't even what? I interrupted. Isn't even wanted? Isn't even loved unconditionally? You're right about one thing, Elena. Lily deserves better than your version of family. I gathered my things and headed for the door, but Elena wasn't finished. You'll regret this, Grace. When you can't handle running that farm, when your little science experiment grows up and realizes she's not normal, you'll regret stealing what should have been mine. I turned around one last time, feeling calmer than I had in months. The only thing I regret is that it took me this long to realize that blood doesn't make family, love does. And Lily has more love in her little finger than you have in your entire body. 6 months later, I'm standing in the golden wheat fields of what is now officially Lily's legacy, watching my 3-year-old daughter chase butterflies between the corn rows. She's strapped to my chest in her carrier while I check the irrigation system, her chubby hands grabbing at everything within reach. The farm is thriving under my care. I've hired experienced hands to help with the heavy work, and I've implemented some of the sustainable farming practices I learned during my years studying agriculture in college. The degree I got before I met David, before I thought my life would be consumed by fertility treatments and family drama. Lily loves the farm life. She knows the names of all the animals, helps me collect eggs from the chicken coop, and squeals with delight when the barn cats let her pet them. She's going to grow up knowing that she belongs here, that this land is hers by right of love, not genetics. Last week, Elena called me for the first time since the will reading. Her voice was different, smaller, less confident. Grace, I need to talk to you. I'm listening, I said, though I was wary. I want to host my anniversary party at the farm. It would mean so much to have it where Grandpa used to hold all the family celebrations. I was quiet for a long moment, watching Lily play in the dirt with a toy tractor. Elena, do you remember what you said about Lily not being real family? Grace, do you remember telling your son not to help her when she fell because she wasn't his real cousin? The silence stretched between us. I was wrong, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. I was angry and jealous and wrong. Can we move past this? I thought about Grandpa's letter, about forgiveness and family, about the values I wanted to teach Lily. Elena, I love you. You're my sister and that will never change. But this farm represents something now. It represents unconditional love and acceptance. Until you can look at my daughter and see her as the miracle she is, not as something artificial or less than, I don't think it's the right place for your celebration. I paused, watching a hawk circle overhead. The soil here is sacred now. It's where Lily will learn about her roots, her real roots, the ones that grow from love, not biology. I can't let anyone who doesn't believe in those roots walk on this ground as if they own it. Elena hung up without another word. That evening, as I tucked Lily into her crib in the farmhouse nursery, the same room where I slept as a child during summer visits, she looked up at me with those bright green eyes and said her first clear sentence, "Mama, home." Yes, baby girl. This is home. This is where you belong, where you've always belonged, not because of how you were conceived but because of how deeply you're loved. As I write this, Lily is napping in her portable crib on the front porch while I work on the farm's financial projections for next year. The trust Grandpa set up for her education is substantial. Apparently, he'd been planning this for longer than any of us realized. By the time she's ready for college, she'll have enough money for any school she chooses, any career she dreams of pursuing. But more importantly, she'll have something Elena's children will never have. The knowledge that her family's love is unconditional, that she deserves to be here not because of biology, but because of who she is. Sometimes I catch Elena's posts on social media, pictures of her children at various family events. They look happy and I hope they are. I hope they never experience the conditional love their mother showed my daughter. I hope they grow up to be better than their mother's narrow definition of family. And if someday Elena truly changes, if she can look at Lily and see the miracle she is rather than the method of her conception, then maybe we can rebuild our relationship. Maybe she can visit the farm and remember what Grandpa really taught us about family. But until then, Lily and I will continue to tend this land, to honor Grandpa's memory, and to build a life rooted in the kind of love that doesn't ask questions about DNA or conception methods or natural versus artificial anything. We'll build a life where the only thing that matters is showing up for each other, day after day, season after season, with the kind of unconditional love that makes families not by blood but by choice. And when Lily is old enough to understand, I'll tell her about her great-grandfather who saw her for exactly what she is. A miracle worth fighting for, a child worth inheriting the earth for, a little girl whose roots run deeper than DNA because they're planted in pure, unconditional love. The farm will be here for her and for her children someday because some legacies are too important to leave to chance or biology or tradition. Some legacies are built on love alone. If you've experienced family rejection because of how you built your family, whether through IVF, adoption, surrogacy, or any other path to parenthood, know that your children are real family. They deserve unconditional love, full inclusion, and the same inheritance of family legacy as any other child. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Stand up for your children even when it's hard, even when it costs you relationships. They're worth it. What's your story? Have you had to choose between toxic family members and protecting your children? Share in the comments below. You're not alone in this journey.